How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Following last week's video where I basically told you the story of my driving test, I thought I'd give you a few quick hints and tips on how to pass your driving test more easily. Everything in this video is basically the kind of things that I wish I'd known going into my test, or the stuff that I think really helped me to pass mine. So I wrote down these 5 general areas that I think will help with your test, and I'm going to go through each one and expand on them a bit. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So starting at number 1 then, and something that I really wish I'd realised when I came into my test, and one of the most important things I think you can know about the driving test. The test isn't about how good a driver you are, it's about how good you are at passing the test. I would say the vast majority of people that have been driving for an extended amount of time after their driving exam would probably fail it if they took it again. And that's not to say that they're bad drivers, they may have gained some bad habits, but they're probably better drivers overall than they were when they took their test. So it simply doesn't follow that being a good driver means that you're going to pass. And I wouldn't say it's like a humanities exam either, I'd say it's like a maths exam or something like that. There are literally answers to every single question and you need to show you're working out. For example, you might know that there is space for you to pull out at a junction, but if you don't show you're working out, i.e. looking around frantically in every single direction to prove that you know that there's no one around for you to hit into, you might fail your test. So clearly showing you're working out in a driving test is stuff like exaggerating checking mirrors and windows, feeding the wheel thoroughly through your hands, putting the car into the correct gears when driving or into neutral when you're sitting still with the handbrake on, and also going slowly through width restrictions and stuff like that to prove your control of the car. And make sure that whenever you're doing any of those things or making any kind of decision in your test, you're doing it with 100% certainty. If you don't know what's going to happen, then don't do it. The examiner is far more likely to let you off for taking your time and doing things correctly than for trying to rush things and then getting them wrong. On to number 2 now. It's a really simple one and very much related to the previous one about this whole thing being a test. You really do need to prepare. And by that I don't mean driving lessons, I mean the kind of stuff that you can do before you even started driving lessons, as well as stuff that you can do just before your test. The key long-term strategy I'm talking about is understanding what most people fail on. Every year the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency publishes a document showing the top 10 reasons why people failed in that year. This is the list of those 10 things from last year. By looking at these things, you can easily be aware of the type of things that you should be looking out for in your own driving before you even come to your test. And I would highly recommend at least taking note of these top 3 reasons: junctions, observation, mirrors, change direction, and control steering. These have been the top 3 reasons for the last 6 consecutive years. So if you do fail, it's highly likely it's going to be because of one of those 3 reasons. If you want to know how to combat these things in your driving test, then literally scroll back to around about 1 minute 45 in this video and you'll hear me tell you what you need to exaggerate in your test. And a good way to prepare on the short term, maybe it's the night before your test or something like that, is to just reread through your theory books. I had the DSA books for my theory and they were super useful for passing that, but also I read them the night before my test and it just reminded me a little bit of what I needed to remember on the day. There are other ways to prepare as well, but I'll talk to those points in the other sections in this video. On to number 3 now, and it seems pretty simple, but you should really try and make yourself as comfortable as possible for your driving test day. And by that I don't actually mean at driving, I mean make the conditions as comfortable as possible for yourself. So let's say you're at school or college and you tend to do your lessons just after you finish at around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you feel comfortable driving at that time, try and book your test for that time too. If you don't feel comfortable driving at that time, try driving some other times of day, see when you feel most comfortable, and then book your test, ensuring that it's a time that makes you feel comfortable. Also, it kind of goes without saying, but if you're really comfortable driving a car around your local area, don't book your test miles away from your local area. Book it at home so that you can get around your area nice and easy and feel comfy on the roads. The only time I'd say don't do that is if you live in a really tough area to pass like Barnet or somewhere in central London. Maybe then consider doing both your lessons and your test outside of London. It's a bit of a pain to do, but it's much better than failing your test multiple times because of stupid stuff happening to you. I would suggest that in the hour or 2 hours before your test, you also have your driving instructor come to you and give you a nice extended lesson so that you can actually feel good in the car and you're not coming into your test cold. If you failed your test before and you think you'd be more comfortable with your driving instructor in the car to help in case you fail again, get the instructor in the back of the car. They can tend to sit in the car with you and tell you what went wrong afterwards if you fail, or then sing your praises if you do really well and pass. And then during your driving test, make sure you do whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. I know it's quite a difficult environment to feel comfortable in, but whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, whether that's singing or humming or whatever it is, make sure that you do it. Obviously making sure that you don't look like you're taking the mick or just not focusing on the roads. I feel more comfortable when I'm chatting to someone, so I spent the entire test just chatting with my examiner. We had such a great chat that it actually probably helped with my passing, because he probably didn't actually clock most of the bad things that I did. But it also meant that I was in a comfortable space and a comfortable frame of mind to actually just get on with it and pass. On to number 4 now. Make sure that you stay calm and relaxed. You'll probably have a mad amount of adrenaline rushing through your system. You'll be worried, excited, scared, throwing up, whatever your reactions are. You need to basically bring those back down to earth, focus on being calm and relaxed, and just concentrating on the task at hand. In your test, you need to make a bunch of nicely thought out, rational decisions about what you're going to do next. You need to take your time and not rush them. If you're off your nut on any of those emotions that I've just mentioned, you really might start making some bad choices. Some ways to help you stay calm are to 1. Ignore the examiner. Whatever they are writing on their sheet of paper, whatever you've done that's caused them to put a tick or a cross or whatever it is, ignore it. It's not helpful towards your test. Similarly, never assume that you failed your test. You might have done something that you think constitutes a major failure, but in reality, you have no idea. So just carry on doing the test. And even if you have done a major failure, it's a great opportunity for you to practice and then get it better next time. Year on year, the pass rate is around about 45 to 47%. So it's actually quite likely that you haven't got a major failure yet, and you can carry on and keep focusing all the way to the end. And even if you really aren't calm, at least pretend to be calm, because 1, that can help you feel calmer, and 2, it gives the impression to your driving examiner that you are a calm individual that can handle a car well and aren't going to just screw up and go mental on the roads. And the final point I wanted to mention, and probably one of the most important ones out there, do not rush into your test. I know plenty of people with these unreal stories of how they only did sort of 5 lessons and then got straight into their driving test and passed first time. But for the vast majority of people, that just simply won't be the case. And irrespective, if you want to increase your chances of passing, you really should get some experience on the roads. Let's go back to this being like a school exam for one moment. Yes, on the one hand, it's like one of those exams because it's got a set of questions that you need to answer, like doing your 3-point turn or parallel park or whatever it is. You need to do your driving alone and checking all your mirrors, etc. But on the other hand, there are plenty of ways that it's not like a test, and that is the fact that there are an infinite number of crazy things that can happen to you when you're out on the roads. Some of those things are more or less likely to happen, and only through driving regularly and getting some experience on the roads can you actually deduce whether or not something bad or good is going to happen in your driving. It's pretty simple. If you've seen and reacted to more situations more times, you are more likely to react in a good way again the next time you have that situation. If you rush in and don't have those experiences up front, it's going to be more difficult for you. I would say one thing that really sets people apart about being a good or a bad driver is how far ahead they look whilst they're driving. If they're looking really far ahead and they know what's coming and they can perceive any kind of hazard that might come, then they're a good driver. If they're looking at the floor directly in front of them and what's hitting them as they get there, they're probably a bad driver. I would say that you don't even need to do more lessons to get more experience driving. What you need is a very kind parent who's happy for you to drive their car so that you can get insured as a provisional driver, and then just get some experience driving your parents around in the evenings, just drive them to and from work in the mornings, whatever it is. Just get some experience driving a car as much as possible. And provisional license insurance really allows for that to happen. I had plenty of experience driving my dad's 106, as I mentioned in my previous video, before I came to my test, and that was absolutely instrumental in 1, helping me to read the road, 2, helping me to feel comfortable in a car, and 3, helping me to pass my test. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, leave a like as it really helps the channel out. Also, if you've got your test coming up, let me know in the comments down below, or alternatively, if you have any kind of other hints or tips for drivers that would help them to pass their test, leave in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. Massive thanks to my patrons as always. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Listen.